and welcome to Parenting Summit 2024. In an era where technology is both a blessing and a challenge, managing screen time for teens has become a top priority for parents and educators alike. Today, we are diving into the topic managing teen screen time, healthy boundaries with technology. We are honored to have with us Dr. Ashok Pandey, an eminent educationist and a thought leader in shaping future-ready generation. With his vast experience in education and understanding of adolescent behavior, Dr. Pandey is here to shed light on the fine balance between embracing technology and managing its impact on teenagers. Let's explore strategies to guide teens towards healthier digital habits. Welcome, sir. Welcome to Parenting Summit 2024.
Thank you. Thank you, Shaju. I'm so happy to be on your show
Thank you,
and
sir.
I
It
wish you all the
is
best. I appreciate your efforts
great, sir.
in the field that you have chosen, and I
Right.
hope I'll be able to contribute something to you
Looking
and
forward to, sir.
to your viewers. Yeah, thank
Sure,
you.
sir. Sure, sure. So, sir, let's start with what are some of the most common challenges you have observed regarding teens and excessive screen time, and why is it important to address this issue early?
So, I, I think your question is mainly with the teens' engagement or indulgence with the screen time. And
Right,
what
sir.
are the issues, right? We are not discussing here, I understand, other
Mm-hmm.
issues which the teens may or may not have, right?
Right, right,
So,
sir.
so the concern here is they are excessive or otherwise use with the screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if that is the hypothesis, before we go, I want to clarify two or three things, which is very important for your viewers, right? Screen time, Shaju,
Right,
is like a diet for everybody,
right,
right?
sir.
Now, the question is we can't say that diet is bad, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
don't take diet. I think we have to consume diet, isn't it? Now, whether it is nutritious, it is balanced, it is good, it is bad, it has greens, it has carbs, it has roughage. Those are the things that we have to be concerned with, right?
Right,
So,
sir.
so I want to make it very clear that I'm not here to say that a screen time per se is a very bad thing. No,
Mhm.
screen time is as necessary as diet to a human being or to an
Mhm.
adult or adolescent, right? But
Right, sir.
yes, the question is sometimes overeating is also bad, you know. Indulgence, we have said in our system, in our knowledge system, there is a saying, "Ati sarvatra varjayate."
Correct, sir.
Excess of anything is bad.
Anything.
As simple as that.
Correct. Mhm.
So let us decode teens' time with the screen.
Mhm.
And I would start with a positive first, okay? That the teens may be using a screen for their learning,
Yes. Learning
number
is,
one.
yes.
Number two, the learning will include everything, lesson learning, research, whatever. The
Mhm.
teen may be using it for entertainment.
Mhm.
Even that is also necessary and permissible, right?
Right. Mhm.
Now, the third thing is if the teen is using this just to while away time, scrolling
Mhm.
and not knowing what is my purpose with the screen.
Mhm.
So I would call it purposeless screen time.
Right. Right.
And then this uh, continuum goes from bad to worse. Okay.
Mhm.
It could
Mhm.
be that you are on the screen in a wrong company.
Right.
You have just made yourself available for
Mhm.
what we call prey or
Mhm.
fraud, or a new term is being coined today, digital arrest,
Mhm.
cyber bullying, cyber crime. So all these things, and therefore, I think when it is for learning, it is clearly defined that this is what I'm using it for. This is the
Mhm.
time I will use it for. I'm
Mhm.
conscious of my responsibilities. I'm a responsible teen. Then it
Mhm.
is fine. But yes, it is easier said than done. And
Right.
therefore, the role of parents and teachers come in here as to
Mhm.
how to guide those children who have
Mhm.
gone in a direction which is
Mhm.
not good for them.
Correct. You rightly put it, sir. And I mean, I think that example also is very apt in terms of today mobile is a part of our life. It is like the
Yes,
tide. How we use
absolutely.
it, what is the amount of time we are spending on it, and for what purpose is what we need to check and work on. Right, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, sir, you know if a parent or an educator sees that a teenager is spending way more than what is required in terms of spending time on mobile and all, so at what point parent or a educator should intervene to
So I
address
think
this issue?
absolutely. It's very interesting, Shaju.
Right.
So, let us go back to the times
Mhm.
when you and I were kids.
Mhm.
I'm sure your time is much later, but
Right.
there was a time when these things were not there, isn't it?
Right. Right.
Right?
Yes,
No
yes.
screen time, nothing. But even then, also, there was a time when children were doing something and the parents had to say, hey, stop it now, come home and do
Hmm.
this. What was that?
Right. Mhm.
Playing, let us say, for example.
Playing in
So we'll
open.
go and play with our mohalla friends, and
Hmm.
instead of 1 hour, we'll play for 2 hours and 3 hours.
Very
And then
common.
the parents have to come and remind you and take you back, isn't it?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think the same parallel today is that instead of child going out, which is so important and which is
Hmm.
so much missing, the child is sitting at one place and doing something, right?
Hmm.
So so now how and at what point of time the parents have to intervene in the house? That is the question, right? So
Right.
in the context of that, if the parents appreciate that context, I
Mhm.
think the best thing is
Mhm.
that I would suggest
Right.
that every 1 hour, even 1 hour is more, I will tell you, half an
Mhm.
hour, I think there
Mhm.
should be some alert to the child that, look, you have been on a screen for half an hour. You have to give
Mhm.
5 minutes break.
Right.
In any case, you have to give break.
Right.
Doctors advise you that every 20 minutes, you have to give a 20-second blink to your eyes.
Mhm. Right.
You get my point?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
so that break, even if you are doing the best thing on the screen, that
Mhm.
break is mandatory for your
Right.
eyes, you know, for reorientation of your brain. It is very
Mhm.
important.
Mhm.
But if a child is learning and the child has to do a project or research or preparing for exam, I think the parents, in a very, very compassionate manner,
Mhm.
they have to intervene. And for
Right.
that, they have to understand and appreciate the child's position and say
Mhm.
that it is for your good.
Right.
Shaju, even otherwise also, suppose we are only reading a book 3 hours, 4 hours, we are preparing for exam. Don't
Mhm.
parents come and say, oh, it's been too much. Why don't you come for a break? Let us sit
Right.
down and chat something,
Right.
have coffee, have a hot cup of milk,
Mhm.
or have a burger, if that is something which is very favorite with the child. We do that now. So
Right,
I
sir.
think we have to do that the same thing with the screen time also.
Mhm.
While saying this, I want to tell you one thing, and the parents should appreciate it, that we don't have to hype screen time so much that the children
Mhm.
develop a negative, mechanism to resist everything that the parents are saying. So we
Okay.
should not, as parent, appear to be
Mhm.
someone who is waging a war against screen time. We are not
That's a
warriors.
that's an important point, sir.
You see, we are not warriors. I
Right.
think we have to only intervene to let the children know that what are the ill effects of a long time indulgence on the screen, health wise.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if we begin with this, then the children know in any case that even if I'm watching a movie for 3 hours, I have to give a break, isn't it?
Right.
And certainly, if they are doing something which is fundamentally wrong, I think they will know that no, probably I have to be cautious about it. Because then, in that case, you are inviting two or three problems at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Long, long longer exposure to a screen, and
Right.
then you are in a bad company, you are doing something wrong, you are visiting a site which you ought
Mm-hmm.
not to, isn't it? Or you
Right.
are in a company who is almost likely to trap you, or you are being prey to a bullying exercise or any other exercise. I think you will be cautioned about it, right?
Right, sir. Right.
So I think this graded response, in my opinion, and
Mm-hmm.
graded and also at the same time very strategic, that is something very important in my opinion.
Very true, sir. This is a very important point, you know. And I think to add to it, it's not only for teenagers, it's for
Oh
us adults
yes,
also. We have to take
everybody.
break and we have to keep in check how much time we are spending at a stretch. Because for
Yes,
health also, it is not something advisable.
yeah, yeah,
Right,
absolutely,
right, right, sir.
absolutely.
Sir, let's say we find, we see this teen who is having some kind of addiction with the mobile. So what are the steps, maybe school can take to, create awareness about this, in terms of the impact of excessive screen time among students, how can school contribute?
So I will again go back to the analogy which I have been consistently giving to you here.
Hmm.
When our children go out, young children, we give them a lot of instruction,
Yes.
right? Please cross the road carefully, right?
Very good.
Do not indulge with strangers,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Do not, if something happens, some altercation, do not get into argument. We give this, isn't it? Huh?
Very true.
Uh, you be on time if you are going somewhere. All these instructions and education we give to our children, isn't it?
Right.
I think we have to develop a set of do's and don'ts for their travel and navigation in this digital world also. After all, screen
Correct.
time, when we say, it is a
Mhm.
digital world that our children have gone into, or cyber
Right.
world, as we call it. So I think
Hmm.
there are already do's and don'ts. Parents
Hmm.
have to understand it. But more than
Hmm.
parents, I think the teachers and the schools, they should have a policy on it. After all,
Okay.
don't we teach children lot of
Hmm.
other etiquettes?
Hmm.
We teach them how to deal with the elders. We teach
Hmm.
them how to deal with the peers. We teach them
Hmm.
how to be respectful. We
Hmm.
teach them how to stand on the stage, how to
Right.
deliver a talk.
Hmm.
All the soft skills. We teach them table manners, isn't it? We do
Right.
all
Right.
the
Right. Right.
grooming and all that. I think
Hmm.
this is the new grooming area where we have to tell them what is the digital etiquette, right?
Hmm.
And
Very true.
digital etiquette demands that we make that world where most of us come and meet, uh, neither we make it unsafe for others, nor we become victim to somebody else who has made it unsafe for others, right?
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
so I think that is the protocol that we have to develop. And it is
Hmm.
not that we have to have some separate classes for it. I
Hmm.
think we have to integrate it in our classes, like we integrate all the value systems, all the soft skills, and all the etiquettes that we teach our children.
Right. So, sir, this brings to the next point. Today, even in schools, we have so much of technology. Schools are integrating technology into education. So while we are promoting that, how to have this boundary where uh, we can have a control over like not to go beyond and have some boundaries where we understand the usage. You have touched upon this point where we are saying ki there has to be
Yeah,
legitimate use, but for teens it is not, because they are getting exposure in school also with digital platforms. These days schools are using, at home also they have. So how to keep a balance on that?
yeah,
What do you
a very good
suggest?
question. Very good question. I'll tell you something.
Mhm.
So, as far as schools are concerned, I think there are two parts to address this. The first part is that we have to have all the guardrails, we call it, or
Mhm.
safety points in terms of blocking some sites which are not available. Children can't log into that, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Very strong firewalls, as we call it. In a
Hmm.
school, certain things are just not available. You do whatever you like, you just can't
Hmm.
visit that. So
Hmm.
that are the prevention, isn't it?
Right.
We have already taken that a step, and you can take some more. The second one is, again, as I said, that education, that is very, very important, right?
Hmm.
The third thing which is very important is, which on one hand we have to appreciate, on the other hand we have to be careful. What is the appreciation? That the children by nature are very, very curious.
Right.
So curiosity is not a bad thing, and we should
Hmm.
not at any stage discourage curiosity.
Hmm.
But what shape that curiosity is taking, that is something where our intervention is required, right?
Right, sir. Right.
So if you're curious, what are the boundaries of that curiosity, right?
Mm. Right.
And for that, it is necessary that
Hmm.
our children are not left alone. Our children are always in the company of adults in schools, I'm talking about,
Right.
where and there should be some peer group pressure also against this, because there is a
Okay.
peer group pressure to go for this
Mm.
also. And
Yes, yes.
therefore
That
schools
is,
have, you see, so schools have to
yes.
create a brigade where
Hmm.
safe digital travel is a mantra for that. And some children are trained as to how to check and how to prevent it, right? And
Very
the
true. Mm.
teachers thing also. So that is one thing that we can take. Second is, we should not allow both at home and in the school children to be alone,
Mhm.
because in today's world, loneliness it has almost become synonymous with your visit to a cyber world,
Right.
because reading habits are going, the loneliness has become more prominent, our
Mhm.
relationship, going out, meeting friends, playing with them, all those things are reducing in a great manner, isn't it?
Mhm.
And therefore
Right.
that
Right.
loneliness is something which is to be checked, because if they are alone, then they are more prone to try out these things.
Very
So
true.
I think that both parents and teachers have to provide more and more opportunity for the children to be together,
Hmm.
to do project based problem solving situations, where even if they
Hmm.
have to use screen time, they are collaborating to find a solution to a problem rather than
Right.
just whiling away time, right? So
Right.
I think,
Right.
the whole idea is that when we admit that there is no substitute to it, we cannot eradicate it, we only have to
Mhm.
mitigate the risks involved, right?
Right.
And
Right.
therefore it is not an eradication, it is not like corona or malaria or something like that, where we have to eradicate it, right?
Hmm.
This
Hmm.
is something which is part of our life, and we have to mitigate the attendant risks with it. So
Right.
that mitigation process demands that we have the alternatives. In the family, if there are four members and all of them are with their mobiles,
Hmm.
I mean, it is unfair to blame only the child for that, because
Very
rest
true.
three
Very
members are
true.
also doing the same thing, isn't it?
Mm.
And
Right.
therefore, the elder in the family has to take a decision that let us at least have a mobile holiday or break for 1 hour, and
Mm.
let us do something together. Let's have a
Right.
family game,
Right.
let's have a storytelling.
Engage with,
Engagement.
yes,
Engagement.
engage with. And very
Absolutely.
important point, sir, that, leaving them alone, that,
Yeah.
that's the starting point.
Yeah.
Whether you do it at home or at
Yeah.
school. Home, we need to
Absolutely.
be especially careful, because these days you have one child, two child at the
Yeah.
max, and you have maximum parents, both parents working. So keeping
Working.
that tab
Absolutely.
and ensuring that they are not alone, they are
Yeah.
with someone, and that definitely you
Yeah.
know will help. Sir, now this comes to a very interesting point, that how can families, see, teenagers, they are curious, they want to see, they want to, so what happens when they feel the need to rebel against these restrictions, like, let's say, you try to have these guidelines in place. When families try, teen definitely, most of the times they rebel. How to address that?
I'll tell you something very interesting. I don't
Right.
know, have you ever seen or heard a small child who
Mhm.
does not even walk but crawls,
Mhm.
right? And that child is crawling towards the switchboard, which is just 10 inches above the floor,
Mhm.
and the child is crawling towards that. And if you stop the child will show its rebellion and anger.
Very true.
6 months, 8 months old children I'm talking about.
So it's
It,
human nature.
it's human nature. And this is a fact. So what is the fact? The fact is, if somebody is heading towards his or her goal,
Mhm.
and anybody who becomes an obstruction to it will face dislike and opposition,
Okay. How to deal with it, sir?
right? So we have to appreciate this thing.
Okay.
But the same child, suppose by some new technology at that point of time develops the brain of a 10-year-old
Mhm.
and knows that, oh, it is switchboard and I put my finger, I'll get electrically shocked, that child will thank the parent. Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Right?
Right. Right. Right, sir.
So what is happening here? The children do not know the consequences
Mhm.
of the wrong behavior.
Right.
So somebody has to tell them what is the
Mhm.
consequence. We only
Right.
tell, don't do this, don't do it. And he or she doesn't know why I should not do it.
Mhm.
Right?
Very important point, sir, that instead of just instructing them, you need to
Yeah.
have a dialogue where
You
you
have
explain
yeah,
the
yeah,
consequences.
consequences. And
Right.
then and then we also have to choose the right time to intervene,
Okay.
because sometimes we are blurred by the fact that my child is spending too much time on a screen.
Mhm.
But the moment you have gone, perhaps at that moment, child was doing something very important on the screen. Now tell me, will the child rebel or not rebel?
Yes.
So you have to choose the right timing. So I'm
Hmm.
just telling you the strategies. The
Hmm.
third thing, which is very, very important, is, in my opinion, that look, you have gone to the child at a time when the child is doing something, and you're saying, why are you doing it? Will it not be a better strategy that at point of time, very diplomatically, very strategically, you tell that, do you have time? Can you give a break? Can we sit down and I have to talk something? Or I have a game for you? Or let us go and water the plants in the balcony, isn't it?
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
uncle has come, can you come and spend 5 minutes with him? I
Right.
mean, how strategically we divert the attention.
Mm.
So at that point of time, if the child was really indulging in something which was not necessary, will be very cooperative and come with you. Your purpose is
Hmm.
served, isn't it? After all, what
Right.
was your purpose of intervention? That you wanted to break that cycle,
Hmm.
but breaking that cycle with a counter cycle is
Hmm.
counterproductive, right? So,
Right.
so, so
Right.
you have to change the strategy.
Right. It is very important how we do certain things with our
Exactly.
teens, especially teens.
Absolutely.
And in fact,
Especially teachers.
just to give you example, if we at times we take it for granted that
Right.
we are elder, we are like your parents. If you are
No
saying
way. Yes.
something, you have to follow. I think time has changed where now we also need to understand they have maybe their privacy or their priorities. We need to understand and right, as you rightly said, take them out of that, get into a
Yeah.
neutral environment, and then talk about it instead of just trying to, you know, do it when you see it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right, sir?
So
This,
yeah. So let me just add it if you have time.
yeah,
That
yeah, please, sir.
earlier days it was said that when your shoes fit into your child's shoes,
Right.
that is the time you should start treating your children as friends, not
Mhm.
as children.
Mhm.
But now, a pair of shoes was only a metaphor.
Right, sir.
But I think that time has come much earlier than that, because children are
Mm.
also exposed to the same set of information we are also exposed to that. So
Right.
they are maturing earlier, they are getting
Hmm.
exposed earlier, and
Very important point.
therefore the only way to deal with them is at equality, you know, treating them as responsible friends and
Right.
not as somebody who is very younger and they must listen to me all the time. That will not work, in
Hmm.
my opinion.
Right. And also to just to add, sir, if you allow me, that, having that trust also,
Yeah, of course.
every
This
time we
all
can't,
based on
yes,
trust. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So we
You have
need
to
to show
trust your
that
child.
trust.
Mhm.
Yes. And
That's very good
that,
point. Yeah, yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Great, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot for sharing your wisdom on this,
Thank
a
you.
pressing issue in this
Thank
world
you.
yeah, sir, in this world dominated by, screens, finding
Yeah,
balance is not just essential. It's a life skill, I guess. Right,
it's a
sir?
life skill. Exactly. Exactly.
Great.
So
Sir,
thank you very much for this very lively, insightful conversation,
yes,
Taju.
sir. It
Appreciate.
it was it was really wonderful interacting. I just want to add that to our audience. Remember, technology can be a powerful tool or a forbidden distraction. It's all depends on how we use it. Let's commit to help our teens harness its potential while staying grounded in real world connection. Right,
Absolutely.
sir?
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot once again.
Thank you.
And it
Thank you.
was it was my pleasure to have an interaction with you.
Thank you. Same here. Same here,
Thank you,
Taju.
sir.